Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopijana
Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, welcome again to our Hare Krishna Ram temple. And just maybe we can close the door. Thank you.
Nog beter.
Thank you. So we're reading from the wonderful and famous Bhagavad-gita. This book is called The Essence of the Vedas. The Vedas were written down 5,000 years ago and are actually like the origin of the modern Indian culture also. There was a real culture behind these scriptures also. And what we see nowadays in India is some remnants of this culture. Some things in this modern Indian culture are remnants, and some of these things are perverted in due course of time. So, for example, we have the caste system in India. Everybody knows the caste system, and this is perverted. This is not like it used to be in the Vedic culture. And other things are still like they used to be in the Vedic culture. For example, you can see traditional clothes like we are wearing in the Hare Krishna temples. You can also still see in India, and you can. This has also been worn since thousands of years. And actually, I became interested in this culture because I was asking myself, how is it possible that people still use the methods and live a lifestyle they lived thousands of years ago? How can it be? Why didn't they want to change? Yeah? Because in this Western world we have this idea of advancement and everything gets better. Yeah, we have better handies, better cars, and so on. Better ideas, better democracy. Everything gets better. This idea is there. But then I wondered why they, for 5,000 years ago, used something and they still use it. Maybe, and especially I wondered because of Ayurveda, for example. You know, Ayurveda is this medicine, or also this acupuncture, which is from the Chinese tradition. I wondered, how is it possible? How did they actually find out? I mean, now it's like so holistic science. How is it possible to find out something? And maybe it was given, was my thought, because of course it's not a secret. That is actually what these traditions also say, that it was given from God or from some higher living entities. And so I thought maybe there is some truth behind it. And so I became more interested and also quite impressed when I was once in India. And yeah, some of these things, I mean, a lot of the knowledge from the Vedas is not known anymore. A lot of the knowledge from the Vedas is lost, but actually the most essential parts are still there. That's the good news about it. Most essential parts is the science of self-realization, the question, who am I? What else does exist, and how do I get information about it? And actually this is what the Bhagavad-gita is dealing with, the topic of the Bhagavad-gita. In other words, you can also say Bhagavad-gita in three sentences. I mean, it makes a statement. It says, I'm not this body, I'm a spiritual soul, I'm a servant of God. This is like what the teachings of the Bhagavad-gita are. And of course there's a lot of detailed knowledge about this also. I mean, that's all these three sentences. Why to write such a big book? Why not just these three sentences? But yeah, you can actually you can write much more books about it, yeah, because actually it's an eternal relationship between the living entity and God, and this is it's like eternal and it's endless. Actually, there's endless information about it, and also like unlimited. Like God is unlimited, so you can write unlimited books about Him. So let's read one verse, and I will read the translation and the purport by Srila Prabhupada, and then I try to speak something about it. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavihastini Sunichaiva Stapakecha Pandita Samabhadashinaha. Translation. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. Purport. A Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species or castes. The brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog, a cow, and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme. For the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana, although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna-conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction. Omakyam Timidandasya Vinandula Shalakaya Shakshu Ummelitam Nina Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Nina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Kadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasari Gauda Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I chose this verse today because we were speaking before about this idea of unity. To see the unity in all human beings, or actually the Vedas teach about the unity actually of all living entities, not just human beings but also animals and also trees are living entities according to the Vedic knowledge. Because the life force actually comes from the spiritual soul. So it's explained there's a spiritual spark in every living entity. In the human beings and animals, it's situated within the heart, and in the plants, it's situated in the roots. And the life force, actually what gives life to this material bodies, because this body you can see is made of material, we take some nutritions and the body is growing with these nutritions. So the actual spiritual spark is actually from same quality in all living entities. So what actually differs is just the, you can say like the material, the mixture of material elements, you could say like this. Or the Vedas have a different concept also of the modes of material nature. Somebody heard, you heard before of the modes of material nature? It's for example also used in the Ayurveda knowledge. There's there's this material nature, and within this material nature you find three different modes. And one is the tamas, rajas and sattva. Yeah. So sattva is like goodness, and this means like everything which is in goodness. Like for example, a room in goodness is like clean and neat, and it's a pleasing energy to be within. And a room in rajas would be like not so clean, a lot of things going on. And the room in tamas, rajas is passion. It's called passion, and tamas is called ignorance. And this would be like totally dirty and totally neglected room. So, and actually you can see everything in this material world, you can see this influence of these gunas. So the different times of the day are influenced by different gunas, and food is influenced by different gunas, and activities are influenced by different gunas. And also our body is influenced by different gunas. And you can see how living entities, some are more passionate, like always trying to achieve something. Some are more in the ignorance, like everything doesn't matter to them, and they're like not sensitive at all to the environment. And some are in goodness, like they are actually self-satisfied and very gentle persons, and so on. But this is all, and the Vedas actually describe how we can come to this platform of goodness, but still it's a material mode of nature. And actually we want to come to the Suddha Sattva platform, which means to the transcendental understanding. This means, this is this understanding that I am not this body, and I am the spiritual soul. And actually everything, all living entities which I see around, they are also not that body, but they are, they are like temporary manifested in this body. But this body is temporary, so it's not actually the real thing, not the thing which should be our first consideration. Because, why? I mean, if we consider our own body to be the real thing and our first thing of consideration, then actually we invest in a sinking boat, you know? Because we know already this body we will have to give it up, and one day we will have to give it up. That's the law of nature. So, and the more we are attached to this body, the more painful it will be. Yeah? If we have to give up a body and we are attached, then it's very painful. Therefore the Vedas actually, or the science of self-realization also is described as a preparation for death. That you can easily get become free from this body, and this can be done if you are already now performing. If you concentrate now, if you focus your consciousness now already on the understanding that I'm not this body. And it's not just that in the moment of death it's less painful, but it's also less painful now in everyday life actually. Yeah? Because actually so many problems we have because of this bodily conception that we suffer ourselves. And yeah, some saints gives this example. For example, we have this thumb, yeah, and there's so many ways how this thumb can cause pain to me. Yeah, I can whatever. It can be burnt, or it can be too cold in the winter, or I can smash it somewhere, or there's a nail and I scratch it, and so many ways. Actually, I think there are more than 1,000 ways of how this thumb can give pain to my body or to me. But there are very little ways actually how I can get pleasure from it. So actually, so what in this verse is described is that there's these different living entities, but and there is different individual living entities. It's not like this is all just material and there's the spiritual oneness. No, we are all different individual living beings, but we take different bodies according to our karma, actually, according to how we acted in our previous lives, or in this life we get a certain karma, and therefore we get a certain body. And but these bodily differences, they are just temporary, and these living entities, the spiritual soul is actually eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. And it's a servant of God, which I explained before. And here in this verse it's also explained like the living entity is always the Supreme Lord is always by his side. This is another secret which we learn from the Vedas. So God is not just in heaven and waiting there and see if we acted sinful or not to judge, okay, you can come to heaven and you go to hell. But no, he's actually in the heart of every living entity, and he's actually giving us knowledge from within the heart, and he's actually guiding us. And with this guidance, and he's fulfilling our wishes, our desires. So, if we desire to forget God, then he also fulfills this desire. Interesting enough, huh? He also, because he's actually in himself satisfied, he doesn't want to manipulate the living entities. He has no need for that. He's actually the origin of all. So he wants actually the living entity to have a free will to make his own decision, and he's just giving guidance every now and then, and he's fulfilling the desires. And of course, still he's actually he wants us to come back to him, but because he understands that we are suffering in this material world, because he understands actually it's the greatest fortune for the living entity if it comes back to God. So everybody, actually, if you carefully analyze our thoughts and our behaviors, we can see how they are actually opposed to God. Even for people who follow some religion, it's very rarely to find a person who is 100% God conscious. And that means in every situation, every moment, to be aware of the presence of God, that God is in my heart and in the heart of all living entities. Because that's actually, the consequences are quite, makes a very big difference to have this view or to understand this. Because then, like it's explained, we see every living entity, the holy person, he sees every living entity, he sees no difference, he sees with the same view. And this also means like, whatever happens to him, he's never lamenting, and he's never, and he's also not like, how it's called, lamenting and there's one verse which describes this, which is Brahma Bhuta Pasanatma Nasochati Nakangsati Sama Saveshu Bhuteshu Mat Bhaktim Labate Param. And this describes one who is thus transcendently situated, at once realizes the Supreme Aman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotion service unto me. So if we come to this platform, to see see that everything is connected to God. That's actually the point. That every living entity has a connection with God, and every situation occurring in our life has a connection to God. If we understand this, then we can be totally joyful within, and we don't desire anything, and we don't lament if anything happens. And of course, that's a difficult task, because many atheists nowadays actually they argue for this atheism, or their reason to be atheist, because they don't understand why so much bad things happening to good people in this world. So, yeah, of course, it's a good question. Why so much bad things happening to the good people in this world? So, but we have to understand. Of course, we can use this as a reason to become atheists. But does it really help the suffering people in this world? Does it make the world a better place? Does it, and is it really the right way to find out if there is God or not? So if we want to find out, first we should ask ourselves, do I want to find out, is there God or not? And if not, then why not actually? Because there's so many people suffering in this world, but one moment, maybe, because then I claim I'm more intelligent and I know better what is good and bad than God. But that's actually not the right way to approach God. Yeah? If you go to the teacher and tell him, I know better what you know, if you go to your parents and say, I know better, or I can, like in the way I'm independent, then actually it's not the right way to approach them. So in the same way, if we approach God, it's not about, we should ask questions. Huh? This is actually what the Vedas state, Janmadi Asayataha. Now that we have this living form of a human being, we can ask questions. Because other living entities, they generally ask questions about their where to get food, where to sleep, where to mate or who to mate, and how to defend. This is generally what the actions and the meditation or the life of animals is. The main things which animals deal with. So, and we as we as human beings, we can ask questions. More, we can ask questions: who am I? Where do I come from? Is there God or not? So we ask the question: is there God? And that's the interesting thing again about this Paramatma, it's called, the super soul in the heart. And if super soul in the heart realizes, okay, he's inquiring about me, then he's actually giving guidance, and he shows us where to find knowledge about God. And if not, then because we don't have the desire, it doesn't actually reveal knowledge about God to us. It just gives us new ideas why we are atheists. Okay, now the question again, why there's suffering in this world? Of course, this world was made like this, and it's not just because of these things which are going on, which are unfair, like whatever exploitation of women, or exploitation of this group of people, or this group is doing this, and so on. Yeah? So much unfair things actually going on in this world. But even if these things would not go on, still there would be suffering in this world. because still there is birth, death, old age and disease, and these are causing suffering, these things. And still there is sometimes rain here in Amsterdam, and actually it's explained, the Vedas explain real suffering actually comes from our false ego. From our false ego is, we have a real ego, this is our spiritual identity, and the false ego is to think I'm this body and things connected to this body. So real suffering comes from this idea that I'm this body and this belongs to me. This is my family, this is my wealth, this is my country, and so on. This is actually what's causing suffering. So this wrong understanding. And so, okay, this is one point. Suffering would still be there, even though if everything would be nice, if there would be enough food for everyone on this world, if everybody who's some disease get treated, still problems would be there. And so then still we ask, why are these things going on? And now the Vedas say this is because of karma. And I mean, this does not mean that we don't care, I believe in karma and therefore I don't care that somebody else is suffering. That's not the reason. That's not the reasoning. But we can understand that it's the most, it's a very positive way to think. Because we accept some guilt. We don't say, it's not my fault, it's all because of the circumstances and because God is so bad and because they treated me wrong and so on and so on. But we can actually accept that we made some mistake. We just theoretically accept it because we don't remember, yeah? We don't know why I took birth now here in this country or with this disease or whatever. We don't know that. We don't know the exact reason. But if we in principle understand, okay, this was my own fault, then we can actually, we can stop to lament about it. And we can say, okay, then I accept it, and it's okay, I'm living with it, and it's okay to live with it, yeah? I'm anyways not this body. So, in this way with this, for me, I mean, I was thinking a lot about this, and I didn't find actually a more positive and a more a concept which is more actually enlivening than that concept of karma. And now it's stated that in this time, actually nowadays there's a lot of bad karma going on. There were in former days people had much better karma actually, but much better qualities therefore. But nowadays we see actually a lot of suffering and a lot of wrong circumstances. And of course you understand these circumstances are not good, also like socially, for example, yeah, like children don't get the right treatment or are not taken care of properly, and all kinds of social problems nowadays going on. And we understand that they are there. And actually our idea is to not to blame God for that. That is the first thing. Actually the other way is to understand that actually just God can change things. Yeah? Of course we can make our endeavor to change the world and we can change it, part of it. But actually to help every living entity, it's not possible for us. No? We can understand this. So we can ask God to help every living entity, and He's happy about that. He likes if you ask Him about that. Yeah, and another thing, if we understand this knowledge, then we understand that many problems actually which are happening in this world are not because the atheist thinks it's because of God, and the God-conscious person thinks it's because of the atheist. Because a God-conscious person understands that if everybody would be God-conscious, yeah, if we understand this this Brahma Bhuta platform, which means the platform where we understand that every living entity is a spiritual soul, and that we are actually not this body, then we understand, okay, it's not about getting very wealthy or having this advantage towards this person or this country and so on, having more power. It's not about that. That's not the meaning of life. Meaning is not meant for that. This is fighting and like dogs and cats are doing. So human life is actually to inquire who is God and how can I serve Him, and also what is, of course, it also means like God and His creation. Huh? It's not just about me and God, but it's about, as I said, seeing God in all living entities, seeing God in every situation. And so we say when we actually ourselves we want to become happy, it's very essential for us, as the Bhagavad-gita says, we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, a servant of God. So it's essential for us to inquire about our relationship to God. And by this process, actually, this knowledge is given in the Bhagavad-gita and in other scriptures, also in other traditions, like the Bible. You can also find, like, where it explains, like, the body is like a temple. What does it mean? That you just temporarily live there and that you should use it for this worship of God, actually. And actually you can see many parallels in many traditions. And the more we understand this knowledge and inquire from these books, and we can make some spiritual practice, the more we will actually see this connection to God and see actually how this is indeed joyful, how this is indeed the way to become happy, and the way actually also to solve the problems of the world. And yeah, so one thing we do is reading the Bhagavad-gita and other books where Krishna describes, or where holy persons describe these circumstances. There's quite a lot of knowledge in the Bhagavad-gita already, and this is just one of a few books. And the other way is the other point is to make some spiritual process, to follow some spiritual process by meditation. We chant the holy names of God, which is actually also described in all traditions nowadays. Like in the Muslims, they chant the 99 names of Allah. The Christians also say, hallowed be the name. I don't know how you say in English, but I think it's like this, hallowed be the name, like praises to the name, or glorify the name of God. And the Buddhists recite the names of Buddha, and in the Vedic culture it's also explained like Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevala, Kalo nasta eva gatir anyataha, which means like in this age this is a process of yoga, the only process which works. All other processes of yoga are not meant for this age. And it's a very easy process you can do wherever you are. You don't need a special environment, and you can in this way always remember God. So Krishna is one name of God. It means the all attractive, because God is all attractive. He's attractive for all living entities, and because he's the most wonderful person actually, and he's actually our best friend. Nobody loves us as much as God loves us. So another name is Rama, which we chanted. It means He's the source of all pleasure. Means that, God is the source of all pleasure. And all this pleasure which we can experience here in this material body is actually a very, very small portion of the pleasure which we can experience when we are connected with God. So this pleasure to be connected with God is it's a transcendental pleasure. Material pleasure, and then we come back to the karma, because normally bad karma comes if we enjoy more than is meant for us. There's also a verse in the Ishopanishad stating that everybody has this quota, so everybody, for every living entity, there's actually enough which it can take. But if it takes more, then it actually is taking from God, and then it gets bad karma for that. Because actually there's no reason to do that, and actually it's just this wrong mentality from this idea, I want to be supreme, I want to enjoy more. So in this way, Krishna is actually our best friend, and the suffering we have to experience is due to our misbehavior in this world. It's like a father teaching his son. But ultimately, the living entity is, because it's eternal, it's ultimately doesn't stay in this material world. It ultimately will come back to God, into the spiritual world. And it's a wonderful place. Everything is made of, everything is eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. Everything is self-effulgent. Every day every step is a dance. Every word is a song, and everything is actually dominated by love, by the idea of love. Means actually service, like not how can I get, but what can I give. And God is in the center. Krishna is in the center, and He's not like just sitting there and arrogant and like that. No. He's actually the best servant. Yeah, He's the best. He can serve the others the best. He's most genius in that. And so it's explained there's a challenge between the devotee, so the living entity, and God, who can serve the other more. And it's, of course, it's a loving challenge. It's a challenge of love. No? So everything is dominated by love there. Whereas in this material world, because due to this bodily conception, the idea, I am this body, whatever it means. In my case, I was born in Germany. I'm now 31 years old. I'm male. I'm thin, and I don't speak so good English, and whatever. Yeah, I have one brother and two cousins and two female cousins and two male cousins. No more grandparents. Like this. Yeah, I could define like this, but of course this is this temporary situation, and in this way we actually define ourselves again and again due to these temporary situations. So spiritual life means to understand, no, this is temporary, and therefore I should not focus my consciousness on that. I should focus my consciousness on the eternal. And it's explained like where we focus our consciousness, this determines where we go next. It makes sense, huh? It's said in the Bhagavad-gita, like in the 8th chapter, it said like, let's see, Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits this body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Yeah. So it's explained like men who are too much attached to women, they become women in the next life. And women too much attached to men, they become men in the next life. Interesting, huh? So, and everybody knows his own attachments, and they are very strong. And we generally have the idea, I cannot live without this, that, and without this and that, and so on. And the Bhagavad-gita doesn't say, okay, you have to give it up. And it's actually not, because they explained like our consciousness is influenced, we have our mind and we have the intelligence. The mind is this which wants to enjoy. Actually it's the center where all the sense perceptions come together, and it's discriminating. This is good for enjoyment, this is not good for enjoyment. And it's going there where there's enjoyment, and it's going where and avoiding this where there's no enjoyment. So this is our mind. Our intelligence can make discrimination. It works with logic. Yeah? It can understand, okay, for example, if I eat too much chocolate, then I feel sick tomorrow. So the intelligence will say, okay, you should stop eating chocolate. One example Srila Prabhupada gave, like if we stand on a building, and how to discriminate the intelligence from the mind, and the mind will say jump, and the intelligence will say no, don't jump, in this way. So actually this path of devotional service actually do different things. One thing is we experience spiritual bliss by chanting the Lord's names, by tasting Krishna Prasadam, which is the food which is offered to Krishna, or by having loving relationships with other devotees, by also by seeing Lord Krishna's, this is like the deity form, the Archa Vigraha, how beautifully it's decorated and served. And in this way we get some pleasure for the senses and for the mind. This is one thing, and so we get some higher taste. And the other thing is also through logical understanding. That you understand, okay, if I want to become more spiritual, let me try to focus my mind more on spiritual subject matters. Quite logical also. Yeah? So we as devotees, we chant regularly, every day we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, also on japa beads, like you see hanging here. This is a bead bag. In this bag there's some beads, like a string of beads, and you can recite also this Maha Mantra on these beads. And yeah, Krishna is not different from his name, so we actually can have association with Krishna when we chant his holy name. And he's, like I said, he's all attractive and he's full of bliss, and he's the source of all pleasure, so it's actually not a boring thing. Only our mind sometimes is stronger than our spiritual understanding, and then we experience this as not so blissful. But the thing is, another thing is that we, through actually contact with the spiritual energy, we get purified also. It's explained like material attachments, we can become purified from material attachments or material conceptions, and therefore we perform some sadhana, which means like we regularly read in the scriptures and we regularly chant the holy names of Lord Krishna. Okay, anyways, this so far for now today. We make these programs every week. On Wednesday we have this lecture, and we also make on Fridays at 6 o'clock we make some singing of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, mantra singing. It's actually very nice, I can recommend, because if we sing in a bigger group and also with these other instruments, it becomes very powerful actually, and you can very easily get access to this mantra and to the meditation. And it's actually, this meditation is very easy if you compare it to other meditations. Yeah? For example, yoga asanas, you have to be, it's more austere, or like this meditating upon nothing. This because when we chant, we speak and we hear, and it's easy to focus the mind on that. Yeah, this we do every Friday from 6 to 8, and on Sunday we have some Sunday program. There we have also some Bhagavad-gita class and also some meditation. That's a combined program. And there's some nice food also afterwards. Okay, some questions or comments maybe?
I spoke to this, I have a question. I spoke to this atheist yesterday, and he was dancing with the Hare Krishna on Queen's Day. He's an old colleague of mine, but I didn't speak with him at that time, King's Day.
But you saw him there?
And I saw him yesterday, I met him in Costa Rica. And I talked with him, and I told him, I saw you dance with the Hare Krishna. And he was like, oh, were you walking with them? And I was like, yes, I was walking with them. He was like, are you with the Hare Krishna? And I said, yes, I am with the Hare Krishna. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, you have to tell me, what do you do there, you know? So I told him, and he was like, yeah, that's nice. And I tell him, yeah, we do the holy names, we chanty this, and we do a service. And he just didn't get it, you know? He was like, yeah, it sounds really nice, but yeah, I really don't get it. And I was also like, yeah, what should I told him, like, I cannot convince you of something you have not seen before, you know? It's hard, but what should I tell him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he can, if he liked it, he can come by also. And I mean, I think it's not about this argument, you know. Sometimes people think it's about the argument, you know. You just speak, and then one day the argument comes, and that's the proof, and you can tell it to everyone, and everyone has to accept it. It's not about that. Krishna makes it much more interesting. It's about finding out, actually. Yeah? People have to be ready to inquire. If you're not ready to inquire, you cannot learn anything, actually. Yeah? It's in general it is like that. It doesn't matter about God or something else. If you don't want to learn, then you don't learn. So if you don't inquire, is there God or not, then no way of. And of course, in this state you can just, if you like it, and you can, of course, you can speak a little bit. But then you can just, for example, give him a book, or bring him to the temple, or chant with him, do something like that. And you know, another thing is, like, Krishna is arranging situations, you know. It's not like we always have to do everything. No, actually, we cannot do anything. Actually, it's all through God's arrangements, the things which are happening, you know. Yeah. If Krishna wants him, if it's Krishna, I mean, of course, this is, again, this living entity has his own free desire, but then, then also Krishna arranges things for him if he has this desire, and if not, then the things will not be arranged. It is just like this, you know. This is how we see it, and how we I mean, as a devotee, we learn to see it like this. For example, I'm on the street. Sometimes we stand on the street. We have these books, and we try to approach the people and say, "Hey, hello! Here we have these nice books. You can have a look. It's about the Vedic knowledge and so on." And sometimes you see people who are very nice and everything and so on. Yeah? But they don't take a book when they are not ready, you know. And sometimes you have people where in the beginning you think, he will never take a book. He will never be interested in that. But anyways, let me just try it. And then they take books.
Yeah, he took a book, but he nearly had a fight. His friend group, they did something bad to the book. So he nearly had a fight with a devotee. The devotee was probably pissed off. I can imagine, you know. Yeah, so he had the book, but then he didn't have the book anymore. It was like this.
The friend stole it, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, then we have to be careful who are our friends and who not.
Yeah.
And I don't know, yeah. You never know it.
I have a question. I've been involved into different religious beliefs, and what I took out of it until now is that you know, they all say, except Vedas, they all say that a human cannot be cannot come from the monkey, because a human can only come out of a human. And the Vedas say that human can, you can be reborn as another entity, and that we actually have to become the monkeys still to, you know, because we're living so primitively. To me it makes sense, but I don't know, what is your opinion, or what are Vedas saying? Can you maybe highlight it a little bit more, like how is it possible that the God is thinking in me, and the next life is going to sleep in the flower, as they say? How is this process? I understand that you're developing as a person, but I don't really understand the process of degradation, or if you can call it like that, into a flower or a tree.
Yeah.
What is your... how can you tell me something more about that?
Yeah. Yeah, so actually this term evolution also appears already in the Vedas before Darwin takes it. But in the Vedas it's described as a spiritual evolution. So this means not like there was first just this junk or whatever, something, and from this appeared the first viruses and so on, or bacteria, and then more and more it developed. Now the Vedas state evolution is that the spiritual soul is wandering through different forms of life. This is the evolution in the Vedas, and it's explained like I just mentioned it shortly, that the living entity determines where it goes into next life is determined by the thought in the end of the life. And of course, this thought, what we think in the end of life, is determined by what we think during the life. And so actually these different forms, these different bodies, like animal bodies and so on, they actually, you can see they have all they are specified on certain areas. For example, there are birds who can fly, and there is bears, they can sleep for 6 months, and there is for example the eucalyptus bear. I don't know how you call it in English. You know this, and you know eucalyptus? Yeah. There's this bear, eucalyptus bear, who's living in the tree and eating this leaves from the eucalyptus tree. How you call it?
Panda of koala.
Koala bear,
Oh.
Koala bear, right. He's all the time intoxicated, because of this, somehow, some substance from this tree, he's intoxicated. Also like ants, they also they eat a lot of sugar, and if they eat this sugar, they get intoxicated. So the Vedas say these bodies, living entities, take birth in these bodies, who actually it's also created by the different modes of material nature, which I explained before. There's these 3 modes of material nature, and this is all different combinations of these 3 modes in different varieties. And these bodies are created to serve special desires the living entity has. For example, if we have this this desire to sleep, if this is our meaning in life, yeah, to sleep as much as possible, then as a bear we have much better facility for that. Yeah, we sleep 6 months in the year, and we have the sleeping bag already put in our body, and like this. And in the same way, if we like intoxication, I think many many people in Amsterdam maybe become koala bears or whatever. Yeah? Like this, it's explained, and it's not like very drastical. What I recently heard, it's not like a real drastical, like okay, now you're a living entity, and then at once you fall down to this very low species. I heard it's like, okay, you get another human form and so on. But in the end, it's explained like every living entity. In the beginning, actually, we are human, and we are very conscious. Yeah, and you can see there's a different. The consciousness is like if you compare the consciousness of a tree with the consciousness of a dog, for example. Yeah, the dog you can have much more interaction than with a tree. Yeah, you can have some interaction with a tree, maybe. Yeah, you can feel some energy or something. Yeah, but it's with a dog, you can have much more. Sometimes you see when the dog is sad or angry or whatever. Yeah, and so the consciousness is covered. And there's different stages of covering, actually, yeah. And as a human being, it's actually it's the last. It's not covered as the least covered. Yeah, we say it's the least covered. Yeah? So actually, it's a good situation. But yeah, so determined. The whole thing is determined by what we actually do in this lifetime. And I explained these 4 activities of animals: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And actually, you can see many things going on nowadays in society. They are focused, they are driven by these 4 activities. Yeah? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is like what the people are driven by. So you don't need a human body for that. Yeah? For mating, actually, for a nice sex life, you can become a dog. You can have sex on the street. Or as a monkey, you can have sex 12 times a day. So this is a much better facility. If this is your meaning in life, if this is the source, what you're living for, then you get a body according to that. And yeah, it's why it's unjust. It's actually makes sense. Huh? So if you use and actually in the Vedas it's also described how you can uplift yourself to the higher planetary systems. You heard of that? Yeah. This is the Karma Kanda part. So it's explained like this material world, or this universe, there's this planet Earth with living entities, but it's explained also on other planets there are living entities. And there is higher planets and the lower planets. And so sometimes we even get to the lower planets, yeah. And the lower planets is like hellish, actually, yeah. Actually, the Earth is also kind of hell sometimes, yeah. You can consider actually the whole material world. You consider like a prison. Actually, it's also compared to a prison. But the hellish planets, there's a lot of suffering, and consciousness is very much degraded, yeah. And there are a lot of cruel people and cruel activities going on, and a lot of pain and suffering. And then there's the higher planetary systems, and there's a lot of enjoyment. There you can actually live longer. You have a young body your whole life. You there's everything in abundance. Yeah, it's like paradise described. Yeah, but it's still a material world. And so the Vedas don't say go there, because you go there, you have some good karma. So it's explained in the Vedas what to do, how you make some sacrifices and to please the demigods, and you get the credit for going there. And then after this life, you go there to the higher planetary systems. But when this karma is over, when you used all the good karma, the time is over, then you fall down again on the earth. So what's the use of it? Actually no use. So the Vedas describe it's better to become out of this material world. And then of course we have to ask, how do I get out of this material world? And then there's two systems described. One is to become one with the effulgence of God, or like it's similar to this idea of this Buddhist to become nothing, and in the Vedas, or the Vedic tradition, there's the Mayavadis or the Brahmavadis who want to become one with the energy of God. And there's no suffering anymore. You understand I'm eternal and you're full of knowledge. But one thing is missing, exchange. So, as I said, the nature of the soul is to be a servant of God. This means there's some exchange. So the nature of the soul is to have exchange. And the Vedas describe if we are in this effulgence and we don't have exchange, we don't feel happy after some time. We are happy because suffering is ended and we understand we are eternal and full of knowledge. But then after some time we feel kind of bored, and don't feel comfortable in this realm anymore. And then we go back to the material world because there we have exchange again. So, but the other way is to turn towards God and to start devotional service. This is what we do. We do bhakti yoga. Have you heard bhakti yoga also? Bhakti yoga means devotional service. This means to connect with God by serving Him. So in this bhakti yoga process, we as I said, we understand the quality of the soul, we understand the quality of God, we understand the quality of this material nature, and we engage also in practical service. So this means also like we are doing some worship here for the deities, it's called, or the Ajra Vigraha, or sometimes we understand the instructions from the Bhagavad-gita and act accordingly. We understand what God desires, what Krishna desires from us, and so we follow His desires. We take them more important than our personal desires, like our bodily desires. And in this way we perform devotional service. And this is what the Vedas explain as. Therefore, it's the essence of the Vedas. The Vedas are very complex, and the reason is they want to give guidance to every human being. But human beings, they have different desires. So some, they want to become wealthy. In this world, they don't care about God. They don't ask about God. So, but still, the Vedas, they give guidance for somebody who wants to become wealthy. So if you want to become wealthy, the Vedas give you the best guidance how to become wealthy. The best way to become wealthy is to follow the Vedas. This is sure. Because this is again according to there's this karma, akarma and vikarma. So karma means fruit of activity actually. Like if you plant a seed, then after some time there will come a tree and a fruit. So you do something, you plant something to it receives the fruit. So, in the same way, we do some activities to get some result normally. So, this karma kanda part explains which activity to perform to achieve which fruit. And vikarma means actually to get. It's actually more like stealing a fruit. Without planting a seed, getting a fruit from somewhere else. But this means we get some bad karma for that again. So if we, for example, get wealth by stealing or by maybe by inventing something, this is it's not following the Vedas, so it's vikarma. So it's actually not like really planting seeds for getting the fruits, but it's just taking fruits And of course we somehow have this karma maybe, okay, maybe it's in our storage, yeah, we have some fruits in our storage, but they will get finished, and mostly we also accumulate bad karma by our deeds, yeah, because if you everything you do in this material world, because there's so many living entities, if you just walk, you're stepping on so many ants and you get bad karma for that, yeah. So then akarma means to work for God. So this means to become free of karma. So if I'm in the service of God and step on an ant, of course I do not on purpose, yeah, but I cannot avoid also, but I don't get karma for that, because I'm connected to God, and actually even the ant gets benefit from it. Yeah. That's a funny thing, yeah. And so that's very holistic. It's nobody losing, yeah. Everybody's winning if we connected to God. So like we offer food, and the vegetables we offer, yeah, we also like take the flowers and so on, but the fruits, but they all get benefit actually. So yeah, so the Vedas describe many paths, and if somebody is following now this Vedic path, how to become rich, yeah, how to become wealthy, then more and more he will, also his consciousness will rise, and then he will one day understand, one moment, but I also have to die, and then I have to give up all this wealth, and so maybe I should search for something else. And this is when you follow this path. There's this, a famous example is for people who want to eat meat, yeah? Generally it's not allowed in the Vedic culture, but if you are very addicted to meat eating, it's described you can do like every, I don't know, when the moon is like full moon, I think, or something like this, or no, I think when it's new moon, yeah? Or when it's moon, full moon, what is the opposite of full moon?
Yeah, new moon.
New moon, yeah? Yeah. Then when it's like really dark, you know, then you can offer a goat, and it's explained how you kill her. You have to cut the throat. And while you do that, you have to chant some mantra in the ear. And then you offer it to Kali, Dovis Kali. And this mantra says, I'm killing you now, and later you can kill me. Which means this understanding, okay, we are all spiritual souls, and I'm acting here, and I will get this bad karma for that, you know. And of course, if you do this for some time, you will realize, hey, by the way, maybe I should stop eating meat and stop offering it to Kali, and maybe what else can I do? So therefore the Vedas, they give a lot of knowledge also about these other parts, but the idea is actually to elevate the living entity and to bring it to this by his own desire, yeah, not by force or something, but by understanding, yeah.
Yeah, if you force them, for example, I don't eat meat all my life, but I was thinking lately that when they kill an animal, does the animal get the better karma? The human the worse and the animal the better.
You mean in this sacrifice, or you mean?
No, not in sacrifice, but
in
how
general,
they do today, yeah.
No, actually not. Actually, the animal has to take birth again in the same form, so living
it's
form.
It's really meaningless.
Yeah. Because it's explained that the karma says you have to stay for a certain amount of time in one body. So if the animal gets killed before, then it has to take birth again in such a body. And so this is actually very cruel. It's not merciful, because otherwise you could argument it's merciful towards the animal, because then actually again it's like there's some elevation, you know. If you take birth in an animal body, then if you after death you take birth in another body, and it's elevating. And there's, for example, 3 animals where you can become human after. There's the cow, the lion, and the monkey. I think it was like this. Yeah. Cow, lion, or tiger sometimes it's, and monkey. So these animals become human beings after. And of course there are special cases also when they get some special mercy, if they can see there are some special animals also, like in India we have an elephant who's always carrying these deities in the temple, yeah. When he left his body, sometimes these deities were taken out on the elephant and carried around the temple. When he left his body, he was running inside the temple, breaking the doors, and was paying his obeisances, like offering his respect. And then he left his body. You can understand this is not normal. This is not for an animal to act like this. So sometimes there's a lot of stories like this. And but anyways, So it's actually a very good opportunity we have in this human form of life. And it's not about accepting blindly, but it's actually more about getting more and more understanding. This is actually what spirituality means, to elevate your consciousness and to get deeper and deeper understanding of our spiritual nature and how this concept really how this really works. And you get also experience, like nobody would like normally what we experience is through senses, through sense experience. And if you say somebody, I saw this and that, nobody will doubt, did you really saw or not, I saw yesterday a movie, that and that happened, nobody will say, this really happened and it's just imagination and so on. So in the same way, actually there's spiritual experience. So we can have this spiritual experience, and actually the Vedas teach us to go on this path of spiritual experience. And actually, that's the meaning of all religions, actually. And actually, to experience the loving relationship with God. And it's no doubt, actually, that it's really existing, So, if you come to the Hare Krishna, Hare Ram temple and are open-minded, I can guarantee you will have some spiritual experiences, for sure. Oh, Christians? You had sometimes?
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, sorry, what was your question?
You sometimes have some spiritual experiences?
Oh, of course, yes, sure. But what kind of? I have some spiritual experience, but
it's difficult to explain them, huh?
Yeah, sometimes in meeting people or so, that they tell me something what I just need on that moment. That I have something.
Okay, very nice.
That I'm looking, that I have a difficult time or so, that sometimes people tell me something what I have, that I have, it is worthful for me.
Okay, very good.
More in that way.
Okay. So you're always welcome. Thank you for coming today. I hope you had some, you don't regret that you came here. And
I'll tell you later on.
And if there are any more questions or if you want to know more about, we have some books in all kinds of languages. And we make some other programs as I explained. Nitai. Okay, thank you.
Nitai.
Haribol.